Hey everyone, welcome to Golden Thumbs Gaming. My name is Golden Thumbs, and today we have a very special guest. She goes by the name CeciliaIsGray on TikTok and Instagram. She even has 200,000 followers on TikTok, as well as being a co-founder of the Online Creators Association. So she is very knowledgeable about the TikTok algorithm, and we dove into a lot of topics around the algorithm.
I love nothing more than talking shit about TikTok. The platform that I'm successful on is the one where I'm like, I just want to say bad things about it.
Well, that's what I noticed when you started the Online Creators Association, and you were talking about how you just want to bully TikTok into, fixing the problems that they have with suppression.
I mean, this is the constant theme on TikTok is like who on their like I don't know merry-go-round of suppression is going to be getting it worse this week. It really does. TikTok is weird in that it does run in these like 2 week cycles. And so it's literally like every 2 weeks, some new nonsense is happening, and I can't keep on top of it. We're all
Yeah.
trying to, but like Jesus Christ, staying on top of it is a nightmare.
Well, that's the thing is I feel like I've noticed like a 2 week cycle too, where I'll have good luck, and then all of a sudden things will die down. And I've talked with other people who make like other gaming creators, and they go through the same thing where they'll have a cycle where things are going really well, and then they'll have a real dry spell.
It literally feels like TikTok makes you take turns. It's
That's how
it's
I've always put it to
insane.
myself.
Yes, it feels like, okay, well, I guess this week is just not my turn. It is others' turn. I'm on a weird opposite schedule where when other people are experiencing terrible suppression, my account is like every video's hitting. I'm getting over 10,000 views in like within the first 2 hours. I'm doing great.
Yep.
And all of my friends are like, I'm suffering. And I feel so bad.
It almost feels like they're screwing with you. You know what I mean? Like
It feels
it's
so personal. It
it
feels so
does.
it's not. The thing I have to constantly tell myself and that I tell other people is it's not personal in any way, shape, or form, even though it feels so goddamn personal.
Yeah, right. And then what happens too is because there's no information out there about how the algorithm works, then you start thinking it's personal, right? You start looking at and criticizing what you've done, and start
Exactly.
and then we come up with all these conspiracy theories,
That's those are my favorite. Those are
but
really
but what I liked about bringing you on is that you sound like you actually try to collect whatever kind of data or information that you can and try to come to some reasonable conclusions.
the Online Creators Association. The whole reason I started it was because I was getting righteously angry about the reporting issues that there are on TikTok.
Mm.
And I had on the same day, one person that I was mutuals with was being harassed by an account with a literal slur in the screen name, saying
Ooh.
things on live like, I'm going to kill your kids,
What?
and could not get the account banned for the life of him. Like, he could not get that account banned. And then a follower of mine who is now a mutual reached out and said, I have a guy who keeps making new accounts to harass me and I can't make him stop. And TikTok isn't doing anything. Do you have any advice? Because I know you went through this with a guy a couple of months ago. And I said, yeah, the only thing that stopped it was me getting that guy banned on Instagram, and then he left me alone. But like, I had to go to a different platform
Yeah.
and get that guy scared to get rid of him completely.
I saw you had a video on there where you were talking about that it's more likely that a video gets taken down for, like if it's like cyberbullying, right? Then it's more likely that it gets taken down for violating those guidelines if the video was duetted or stitched together or sort of like replied to in some other way, or they tag the person in the caption.
Oh, so
So is that,
that's a newer thing. So okay, I don't know where you want to start talking about the goddamn algorithm.
yeah,
But
I mean,
I don't know if we
well,
want
that's
to
the thing.
start with like
There's so many directions it can go, but
um so they have new guidelines around harassment and bullying,
yeah.
where and I don't really remember when these started, but there I think everyone felt like there's been a weird uptick in community guidelines violations for harassment and bullying, and maybe it's been like a month or two at this point. um they put in some new policies where they're more heavily policing videos where you have tagged someone in the caption or tagged someone in the comments that you
Okay.
are specifically talking to. But of course, when you reply to a comment, that person is automatically tagged in your caption. Just like when you stitch them, it's tagged in your caption. When you duet them,
Sure.
it's tagged in your caption. You can't remove that because then you're removing credit. But the flip side of that is it becomes much easier to police you for harassment and bullying. And their line for harassment and bullying is pretty much like, if you swear one too many times, if it veers into like R-rated movie territory versus PG-13 rated movie territory, they'll pretty much strike the content down, and they won't reinstate it even if you try to fight it. I did that about a week ago. I tried to fight it, but I said fuck in the video, and that was it. The video's gone. I can't. It's never coming back.
Interesting. So, okay, so they're trying to protect people with that then?
As far as I can tell, yes.
Okay.
However, they're not really looking at the content of the response.
Okay.
They're looking at like, how angry was this response? How much swearing is there? How inappropriate would it be if it landed in front of like a 12-year-old? And from there, they're saying like, okay, well, now this is a community guidelines violation. So even if you're like, the video that I got taken down was me telling someone that the military purposely targets poor high schools.
Oh, sure.
Which is the truth. And I think we all understand that that is the truth.
Right.
But it's fine. I don't know a single active service member who doesn't feel like, yeah, my recruiter maybe lied to me a little bit. But the main issue is because I swore in the video, it didn't really matter that what I was saying were simply, for the most part, agreed upon truths, and then a couple of actual statistics. Because I swore, it was taken down because that was seen as overly aggressive.
Interesting.
Their tone policing is what's happening.
They're tone police. Okay, yeah, that is what it is because right. So what if you were saying something like that, but you weren't duetting a video or stitching it or replying to it in some other way? It would be okay. It would be allowed to fall
way less likely to fall into a community guidelines violation. It's way less likely that the initial report would be successful.
Doesn't that seem disturbing? I mean, if they're
trying
to
it does.
like stop people from doing bad things, stop people from cyberbullying. I mean, I could imagine if a kid was in school and the whole school was following each other, then you could just start talking about Johnny and not tag Johnny.
And it would fall right through the cracks. Exactly.
Yeah, and it would stay up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's really hard to underestimate how quickly TikTok grew and how completely unprepared for that growth they were.
Interesting.
This is a thing that I say a lot. TikTok is so incompetent that it often looks malicious.
Okay, I see what
TikTok
you're saying.
makes decisions that it has to make because it is understaffed, because it does not have an adequate sort of like content review team, that make it look like it's making decisions to hurt people on purpose. But it's not. It's just hurting people by accident.
So you don't think this is a situation where, like with Facebook, they've got tens of thousands of people moderating the content, and sometimes things slip through the cracks. They miss things just because there's billions of pieces of content going up every day. But with TikTok, you think there's more of like an issue a structural issue within the company where there's just not enough of them to keep up with how much is happening on the platform.
So have you ever reported a video and it's clearly something is bad, and it should be obvious, but the report comes back in like 5 whole minutes?
Oh, okay. Yeah. There's no way to review it.
There's no human review. There's no way a human reviewed that. That is purely running through some kind of content moderation system. The content moderation system does not pick up on it, and it comes back to you, and it's fine.
Wow.
So there's the level of content moderation that is happening on TikTok. The first review is always, it seems, for most users, not a human review. And so if it isn't something that system can pick up on easily, unless it gets mass reported, it's going to fall through the cracks.
It's interesting that we're on this topic because I also saw you talk about Trisha Paytas,
Ugh.
and and so she's obviously a verified user, right? And she exposed herself in a video, and you were saying that a lot of people reported the video, and it was as if it wasn't even reviewed, right? And it was allowed to stay on the platform. But I'm wondering if, now that you say this, I'm wondering if it maybe just wasn't reviewed. But at the time, I was wondering if maybe they were allowing her to get away with more than others just because she's a verified user.
So the thing we have to talk about with verified users is there seems to be tiers of verification. There are people like some of the verified users that I'm mutuals with, who happen to have a video go particularly viral. And that video was being used in a lot of other places on a lot of other platforms. And they had to apply for verification within TikTok just to keep their content safe. That's like Ryan, Coffee Fanatics, who I'm mutuals with, and I talk to quite often. He just had a video go super, super viral. And it was posted everywhere, and people were stealing his content. And he had to get verified because it was like, TikTok, please, these people are pretending to be me, and I would like them to stop. But Ryan is just a normal guy. He up until recently was just like a Starbucks barista who lives in New York City, who was like finally earning enough money to think about opening his own coffee shop. Like, that was literally just it. That was it. He was a normal dude. But it went so viral that his content was being stolen. So he was like, please, I am the only Ryan here. And so there's that level of verification. And I'm mutuals with a lot of those people who just said, like, my stuff kept getting stolen and I had to do something. But there's other levels of verification for people who are coming in with an established audience, people like celebrities, people like Instagram influencers. And those people seem to go through a different verification process. And those people also seem to have their own kind of moderation team, which is not different from any other social media platform. Like, Twitter has its own mod team for its verified users. Facebook openly has its own moderation team for verified users.
And what is the purpose of that?
It's mostly because once you are verified, you're kind of seen as a public face of the platform. And so if you are doing things that are bad and are a bad reflection of the platform, if you are verified, you need your own legal reviewer. It's to keep TikTok safe. It's kind of like you have your own HR person for you.
Interesting. So they're seen as more like a representative of the platform at that point.
Exactly.
And so, okay.
Yeah. So it's specifically because when someone like Trisha Paytas fully flashes everybody on the platform, TikTok is now liable for that. It's not like they're super legally liable. It's like they're going to get a ton of bad press kind of liable. So they need to have somebody on call somewhere to say, like, hey, can you review this legally so we can make sure we will not get in trouble for this verified user being stupid. It's like an HR department in any company. They're there to keep the company safe.
Yeah, right. So at that point, they're looking at it more from the perspective of, like, is this going to cause bad press? Do you think that at the same point they can choose to allow things from them that they might not allow others to do?
mean, we could get into, like, the fact that TikTok at this point has been chasing sex workers off of the platform pretty steadily. They were happy to make money off of them for a very long time. And suddenly they have decided, we need to get these sex workers off of the platform. But we have Hawk Hates You, who is openly a sex worker and makes great content and is wonderful, but is also verified and is not being chased off the platform. So there is very clearly a double standard happening when it comes to those verified users and what they are and are not allowed to talk about or promote or do.
When we say sex workers, we're talking about people who are making a living off of it, not people who are doing sex trafficking.
Yes. So we have to talk, like, the constant problem with like it's Sesta Fosta. It all comes back to stupid fucking Sesta
Mm-hmm.
Fosta. But this equating of people who are making their money as cam girls, as strippers, as general sex workers, and equating those people with people who have been sex trafficked when that is simply not the reality for most of them.
Oh.
And Sesta Fosta in particular is a very, very bad piece of legislation that has made sex work even less safe than it already was. And it puts people in danger every single day. Sesta Fosta is awful, and we should all be advocating for the end of it, but that is a whole different thing. But you have people on TikTok like Hawk, who has an OnlyFans and is essentially working as a cam girl, but she's producing all of her own content and she's managing everything herself. And so it's a little dicey when you have creators that are not verified, who are sex workers, who have large platforms, or are working in like sex worker adjacent industries, particularly like Snack Mama, who is essentially like the manager of a strip club who takes care of all the girls and cooks for them and keeps them all safe.
Okay.
All of their platforms are being put at risk right now because TikTok has decided we need to chase them off.
So they're suppressing their views?
They're suppressing their views. They're banning their content. I mean, they're banning their content over very little, but there's a new piece. The community guidelines got updated. And it's bad. It's bad. I don't know how to express how bad it is.
What are the updated guidelines?
I'm pulling them up. I believe what they're doing is equating all sex work and sex work related content with illegal activities, which technically is not true. First of all,
right?
Let's be real. Stripping is not illegal.
Right.
Sorry, I'm like scrolling through these goddamn guidelines.
Sure.
They're so long. But essentially, they clumped all sex work in with sex trafficking. Which is bad. It's really bad, and they shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
But the thing we do need to address is that, like, well, Oracle and Walmart are now minority stakeholders in TikTok, and both Oracle and Walmart are owned by extremely conservative billionaires.
Oh, okay.
And so some of these community guidelines changes are pretty obviously pandering to their new stakeholders. They're only minority stakeholders, but they're extremely influential. They have a lot of say in terms of like, how do we make the most money off of this? It's like, well, the owners of Walmart have a really good idea of how to exploit as much money for as little money as possible. They're really good at it. And so they're clearly listening to them.
It's concerning how, I mean, when you have a private business, you can kick people out when you want. You can let anybody in who you want. You don't have to serve people. But we're in this new world where, it's not just walking into a Walmart. We're using these platforms to connect, to communicate to the rest of the world, to share information that is sometimes critical and important. And so it's this new world where it's like that, you don't like to see them be able to do this, right? Like, this is this interesting new dynamic where we should be able to communicate in whatever way we need to, right? And without being stifled like this.
So this is, at the end of the day, every single censorship issue and suppression issue on TikTok comes down to, do we look at the internet as a public resource, or do we look at the internet as a set of private businesses? And this conversation has been going on since I was a kid, and my dad worked for Nortel in the 90s. So this is like, my dad is firmly in the Northern Telecom was a telephone company. Do they still? I don't know. They collapsed during the .com bubble for the most part. They laid off 75% of their workforce, including my dad. So, like, am I bitter at Nortel? Yeah. But so this was Northern Telecom was in the high-speed internet game pretty early on. We had a computer with internet in our home way earlier than any of my classmates. Like I could type my name before I could write it because that takes less motor skill. So I was like 2
Sure.
years old and typing things. And so this is like, we've had this conversation in my family for a really long time of like, is this a public resource? Is this like electricity? Is this like water? Do we need to start looking at it this way? And so far, the US government has declined to do anything about it.
Right. They've been really hands off,
Incredibly hands off, which is
always a
always a
problem.
problem.
And that's where all these things start to come up, right? Is when you haven't defined, is this a public resource or is this treated like a small business or a private business? Now, it allows for all these issues in the algorithm, right? Where they could be stopping the sex workers from making content, or anybody else for
And
that
this
matter.
is actually, so do you remember when TikTok was being banned like approximately 5,000 years ago and or 3 months ago? Can't tell
Mm,
anymore. Time isn't
yeah,
real.
right.
So there were 3 lawsuits that were happening sort of simultaneously. All 3 have closed now, like they've all finished. The main one was ByteDance versus the US government. And that one, they were sort of holding the Trump administration was being really dicey around like producing any evidence whatsoever. When they actually filed the evidence, I read through the whole thing and it was so sketchy. A lot of the arguments they were making were terrible. And so it was kind of no wonder that the judge actually kind of told off the US government for even bringing this lawsuit and like allowing it to happen. But the most interesting argument that was made within there was that this was possibly a First Amendment violation because TikTok was equivalent to like a modern town square, and everyone should be allowed access to that town square. So I think that has interesting implications for like the future of all internet social media. The third lawsuit also found that this was a potential First Amendment violation to ban TikTok. So I think things are moving. I don't know if we will see like the complete changes like within our lifetime, but it does seem that judges are starting to make decisions that indicate that like, hey, this might be the public square and we maybe need to be looking at it as if it is. So I wouldn't be surprised if like in the next 10-ish years, we get an actual like Americans with Disabilities Act based lawsuit with an app like TikTok where they're like refusing to provide closed captioning and saying like, actually, you do actually need to provide closed captioning because it is the public square. But that's going to take some time. This is all going to take a lot of time.
So there is hope that, suppression wouldn't continue. But for right now,
it is so real, unfortunately. And I don't, the problem with the legal system is everything takes a lot of time. And if we're being honest here, the people currently in charge of us have no idea how the internet works for the most part.
Yeah.
There's like maybe 5 senators where it's like, I would trust you to be able to log into Instagram by yourself. And the rest of them, it's like they have no idea.
Exactly. They don't understand.
No, and they don't understand how essential it is either. That's the other problem is this idea that like, well, we would be fine without it. It's like, well, technically no, because I wouldn't be able to find a job or at this point do my job if I didn't have the internet. So it's, right. That is a whole much larger conversation than just TikTok.
Sure. What are you finding with different groups that are being suppressed?
So it was the Netspolitik article from probably about a year ago that sort of outlined the fact that in recent history, TikTok had sort of disproportionately policed and suppressed Black and other creators of color, visibly disabled creators that they considered visibly queer in some way, and fat creators. It's TikTok's official stance that they don't do that anymore. But it is, I think everybody on the platform's like non-official stance that like, no, they're still doing that to a certain extent. I think people think of algorithms as neutral entities, and they are not. Algorithms are software programmed by people with racial biases. And so those algorithms can reflect those biases in in as many ways as you can sort of imagine that they can.
My jaw dropped when you named the number of people that they're suppressing in all these different groups.
So at this point, I think TikTok's saying that it no longer actively suppresses those people.
Okay.
I don't think they're lying. I think
Okay.
they're keeping us, and what sort of traffic patterns and like the blackout days that have happened. What all of those seem to indicate is we're all being kept in these little bubbles, and TikTok doesn't like it when your content crosses over into other bubbles or when other bubbles cross into your bubble. So my main example of this is I am mutuals and good friends with a creator who happens to be a fat Black creator. I'm never given her content. I have to seek out her content. We interact with each other multiple times a week. We are commenting on each other's videos all of the time. We send each other messages periodically. TikTok does not care. It does not prioritize her content for me. I am almost always given white straight size creators first, and then everybody else.
That is odd because, you know, anytime that when you message somebody and you follow each other, it considers them your friend, right? And so anytime that, you know, you have somebody who's like your friend, you see every video that they post on your For You page.
Yes. This is, if you're in your following, it's usually a little bit easier.
Sure.
It's you know how TikTok will sometimes like intersperse people you already follow into the For You page to like keep you interested in the For You page? It almost never gives me any content for people who are not white or straight size in that like interspersing onto the For You
this
page.
is the problem with not having any regulation because, you know, you can tell a business, you know, don't do this, right? Like, don't suppress people who are of these different groups. But then they can say, all right, yeah, sure, we won't do that anymore. But they'll find some other way. They're not going to stop doing what they want to do, right? They're just going to find another way to do it.
Exactly. I think the main issue is TikTok is a business. And, you know, they're going to try, I don't want to sound terrible here. They are going to try to find the most ad-friendly version of everything that they can. So, you know, if they can find a version of me that's like hotter, they're going to do that. And they're going to promote that person over me always, because advertisers will want to run their content against that person over me. And that continues down the line. The scary part is what TikTok considers ad-friendly.
Okay.
Because what TikTok considers ad-friendly is pretty much just like, are you white? Are you cis? Are you able-bodied? Okay. That's pretty much that's pretty much the little narrow category they have.
Right.
They have a couple of creators that they work with where it's like, look, we have this one token Black creator that pretty much only makes a super ad-friendly content. Isn't that great that we have all of this diversity?
Right.
You know, and you know, I think pretty much everybody can see that that's kind of going on, but I think pretty much everybody also registers that as kind of normal. I think that's what we're fed in all of our media consumption, that when we see it happening on TikTok, we register it as like, oh, this is just like everything else. And I think that has sort of bred a certain amount of like, I don't know, people are
so as soon as these platforms start becoming reliant on advertisers, things really go down.
That is the end. It's the end. It's not the. I keep saying it's the end because I don't know. Talk about the world ending all of the time. It's been a year. It's certainly the way in which things change. I mean, you know, we can look at what's happening on TikTok right now. Is a little bit of like, remember when Tumblr got bought and everything was just like an absolute hellscape for months until the platform just collapsed underneath its own weight. There's a little bit of that in there because the user base was so unruly that they weren't going to go down without absolutely ruining the whole platform. There's a little bit of the adpocalypse in there. There's a little bit of like, TikTok is so scared of ads running against potentially controversial content that they're policing the content before an ad can even run against it, which is in turn making advertisers look at this like, kind of a weird, dicey platform. Maybe I won't put too much money into it. And
Right.
there's also a little bit of like a Vine like scenario where Vine was promoting a certain group of creators so heavily that organic growth just sort of stopped.
Okay.
And the platform died that way. It was never a money issue there. It was a people issue and a feeling like all of the content was no longer organic. It was sort of like astroturfing, to use like the organizing term.
Sure.
Every trend was sort of like prescribed from on high and then went down instead of from the bottom up, which is, it's starting to happen on TikTok. You'll get there are a couple of organic trends going around right now, but there's way less than there used to be.
Right.
And it's starting to feel stale.
So the idea here being that they're trying to curate, a certain appearance so that advertisers view the For You page as this this premium area, this premium real estate for their ads.
Even less, just viable. The thing with TikTok is, how long have you been on the platform actually?
So I've been posting since January 2020, but I didn't have any content take off until August. Once August came around, I upped it from January to August. I was just making videos playing this game, and I was putting some music behind it, royalty-free music, and it wasn't going anywhere. And then all of a sudden in August, I had like 50 followers, and I thought, let me just tell these people about this glitch in this game. And so that was the first time I did a narrated video where I spoke over it, and that took off, and it got like 2.5 million views. And so ever since then, I've been narrating the videos, and the growth has been nice. But so I've been creating for about a year now.
Okay, so I've been around for 2 years on this hell site. And and at this point, I feel like I'm mutuals with a lot of people. I gathered them on purpose because I needed a full history of this nonsense place. But people who have been there since the Musical.ly days, a lot of cosplayers who have been around for forever, just forever, who have sort of been watching these changes roll out one by one. So 2 years ago, TikTok was a place where you could see the gears of the algorithm turning every time that you liked something. So I distinctly remember one time I liked a single like watercolor painting video. I was like, yes, this is pretty. I shall like it. And then there was like a little loading pause, and the next video was also a watercolor painting video. And then the next video after that was also watercolor painting. And if you liked like 2 out of the 3, you'd get it often. If you liked 1 out of 3, you get it a couple of times. If you liked all 3, art would just take over your feed, and you'd have to work to get it back down. So the algorithm, it was way less refined. The user base was a lot smaller. It just had less information it was working with.
Right.
And so advertisers had no fucking idea what to do with this.
Yeah.
Because who you advertised, who is on this platform? It was me making dumb one-liner jokes, a bunch of cosplayer friends, and like occasionally a musician or an artist doing something, and then a bunch of teenagers dancing. What products do these people want? So it was remarkably difficult. And so TikTok has been working to curate these audience bubbles that we're all in, because we all want different stuff. So like as a millennial woman, I get a lot of advertisements for like food delivery and like HelloFresh, a couple of Amazon advertisements, a couple of Walmart advertisements. I get stuff where it's like, you're a practical adult woman, here are some things you would like.
Yeah, those are the same ads.
All the practical adults get about the same ads, because they're like, what do you want? What do you do? Make dinner? So that's fuck TikTok. But if you are younger, if you have more specialized interests, the ads will get more specialized depending upon what bubbles you are in. So, like, the reason we're all sort of divided like this, and the reason the suppression is happening, is because the For You page was not like a viable advertiser space without it. So this is the issue. Is like we have to make it so that TikTok can function and make money, but we also need to acknowledge that the way in which it is doing it is pretty racist, and
Yep.
figure out, okay, how do we come together? Not, I don't want to say come together because I don't want to work with TikTok. But like, how do we sit on opposite sides of the bargaining table and say, here's what you are doing wrong, come up with new solutions already?
Okay.
Because that, like, this is, the so let's actually talk about the algorithm, like, actually.
Sure.
So no algorithm is, I think everybody thinks of the algorithm as just the thing that's the recommendation engine. That's not it. The recommendation engine is one part. There are like between 5 to 7 other parts of the algorithm that all kind of work in tandem to make TikTok work for you. So the recommendation engine is just a tiny piece of like what it's doing and what behavior it's observing. The other part of the algorithm that always worries me is the whatever they're doing to restrict flow to the For You page. So they noticed during the first blackout in May that they had a huge security issue, and that security issue was the blackout protest was able to take over the For You page of every single person on the app. So imagine if somebody with bad intentions did that.
Oh,
That would
okay.
have been terrible. So at this point, I think they've overcompensated. But essentially, they realize, like, wow, that's a huge hole in our security. We can never let that happen again. And they haven't. So there have been these sweeping changes that took place from that blackout onward that have made it not necessarily that you are more suppressed. They've made it so that your reach is really, really erratic. And that's the thing that's getting
There
to
you go.
everybody. It's not
Yep.
necessarily that you are individually oppressed by this system. It is that you never know what's going to happen. There is nothing reliable about TikTok anymore, and it's getting worse. It used to be that we could sort of do an algorithm weather report daily, where our lead researcher Kit would put out a video, and they'd say, like, okay, so within 20 minutes I was getting non-follower likes. Looks like things are hitting the For You page within 20 minutes if the video is successful. We can't do that anymore. It's gotten
Okay.
irregular to the point where it's like, yeah, Kit can do something and get one result, and I can do something and get another. And, we
Sure.
can only look at overall suppression trends, and that's about it. So the thing you'll notice less now, definitely in the beginning it was more. The first round of like the TikTok ban back in July, there were like 2 days of really awful suppression. And it was so visible that you could go to your analytics and the For You page wouldn't even come up as an audience option. They were just
Wow.
stopping anything from going to the For You page. They did not want advertisers looking at videos of people saying, like, goodbye forever, follow me on Instagram, TikTok is collapsing, because no advertiser wants to see that.
Right.
And so that was a rough period. Every time the ban stuff comes back into the news, we get another round of terrible suppression. Anytime there's sort of like larger world events going on, there's terrible suppression. There was awful suppression around the US election. And they're doing it anticipating that, one, it's going to look bad to advertisers, and two, they don't want any more like potential security issues to pop up again.
Interesting. So how do we beat this erratic behavior?
Sorry, that sounded a little manic.
Yeah.
It's so there's a couple of the first thing to keep in mind is very little of what you do on TikTok is ever going to be in your power, and I know that feels bad, but it's kind of empowering to understand that like stuff's just not going to be in your control, and you can't like base your self-worth and your mental health on like, yeah, my video hit today, so I got my dopamine. because it is
Right.
so erratic at this point. So what you
Yep.
can do is, if you've got a bunch of like low effort videos stored up, like keep stuff in your drafts, do like dumb trends, dumb one-liner jokes, 15-second clips of whatever you do. If you've got some of that stuff stored up in your drafts, put out a video first thing in the morning from your drafts and look at the likes during the first hour. Uh, and if it seems to be like a normal traffic day, you're getting non-follower likes within like 40 minutes of putting it out, that means the suppression is going to be pretty okay, and anything you put out is going to have a decent chance. If you're looking at it and like the first hour you're not getting any non-follower likes, it's not hitting the For You page, suppression is bad. Don't post any content that you've put any effort into that day, because it's just going to flop. There's nothing you can do.
That's interesting, to test the waters before you post something
Basically,
important.
yeah. If you've put effort into something and you put it out and it flops, it feels goddamn terrible, and it feels like it's your
Yeah, it
fault.
does.
But you might just be hitting a bad suppression day, and it's not your fault. So
Sure.
test the waters with something low effort. Have low effort stuff stored up in your drafts, just in case. It's also good if you're like, wow, I'm tired, and the algorithm is like really good today. Like just post from your drafts, have them there, always
Mm-hmm.
have them there. um
So this is a good alternative to saying, I give up, I'm throwing in the towel, I'm going to a different platform that might not treat me this way.
I mean, one, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Never put all your eggs in one basket. Like, I have a YouTube channel, I post regularly on Instagram, I'm constantly on Twitter. Never, with social media that you do not control, never put all your eggs in one basket. I am
Okay.
personally of the belief that if you have a large enough audience and you want to start controlling things a little bit more, have your own website and post your content on there. Because then, like, you have it forever. You're not being subjected to whatever whims of whatever advertiser are screwing with the algorithm that day.
Yeah.
There are also, like, talking about actually improving your reach. So the things that you can actually do, the things that like do seem to help a little bit. TikTok, the algorithm is just dumb software. It only knows what it sees. Um, so if you have a bunch of videos that did really, really badly, TikTok is judging you for that. It feels bad that TikTok is judging you for that, but it is absolutely judging you for that. And so it's going to push your content a little bit less. If you have like 5 flops in a row, it looks at that information and says, this user is not creating content that does well, therefore I'm not going to push it as much. The algorithm likes to see
Ooh.
success.
See, that's something that I feel like I've heard them say that's not the case, but I've always been scared that that
So
is the
it's
case.
it's not the case in a way that's like going to permanently screw you up forever. But
Okay.
like, I go back usually after I get paid, because I don't want to get rid of my views. Because now I'm
Mm-hmm.
being paid by the view, which I think is stupid, but whatever. Um, so I go back at the end of the month and I get rid of stuff that did really badly. And I've found that when I do that, it helps. It's not a huge jump, but it's like a general upward trend in traffic.
Wow.
It's I'm not going to say we're sort of we're actively experimenting with this right now in Toka. So this is like, we don't have any hard data yet.
Sure.
The anecdotal data we have from like the
Right.
20 or so people that have like gone back and done this is like, yeah, there's anywhere from like a 5% jump to a 20% jump. Which is good. All
Interesting.
of the videos I've ever had that have gone actually viral, they've all happened after I did a pretty big clean out. Yeah. So
Really?
that's like, that is fully anecdotal. All of this is technically anecdotal, but what we've seen is like, yeah, there's an upward trend because the algorithm likes to see that you are being successful. I don't know that it necessarily pushes your content more, but it certainly regards you as a more successful creator, and algorithms like to see upward trends of success.
Do you think there are levels of success? Do you think there's levels? Like, let's say I get a video with 50,000, and then I get another with 100,000. Let's say I'm staying in like a range of 50 to 100,000. Does that then going to push me to eventually getting to a range of 200,000 and then 300 and then 500? I mean, or is it just you're always going to get pushed, but there's no, you know what I mean? Like, is there any way to really grow where it's like I used to do an average of 50,000 views per video, now I do an average of 100, now I do an average of 500? Or is it always just going to be, sometimes you get a lot, sometimes you get a decent amount, sometimes you get a
TikTok
little?
is always going to be a little bit of like a roll of the dice. There's always an element of like, you hit at a good time, people were online, the joke landed particularly well, the content was like particularly appealing in that moment. There's always going to be that element. However, there is a general trend right now to TikTok favoring people who are able to bring people onto the platform. So if you are able to get an
Okay.
outside audience to click on your link to the video, and then those people follow you or interact with your other content or go on to stay on the app for a little bit, that does seem to be helping. That seems to be boosting people's accounts. I don't know how long that's going to be true for, because it wasn't true like 3
Right.
months ago, but it is definitely true now, where TikTok is really, really favoring people for growth, that are able to bring in an outside audience. Who is to say how long that will be true? But currently, that is a thing that they do
Yeah.
seem to be liking. Videos do better if there is a lot of outside interaction.
What do you think about, so I did a video, so okay, so two things. Number one, so all right, so I found that, and you tell me if this is true, anytime I pull money from the creator fund, anytime I withdraw money from the account, my views go down
Really?
after that. And
Sorry, I'm laughing.
yeah, and I've heard another creator say this exact same thing to me. And so I made a video. So all right, so recently I pulled money out, then my next video flopped, and then I made a video after that, and I said, um, TikTok is acting suspicious. Anytime I pull money out of the account, my views go down. And another creator told me this, you noticed the same thing. So if you're seeing this video, follow me for daily content, or else this may be the last time you see my video. And that
You delivered
got
the
like,
ultimatum. That's no. So this is
yep, yep,
I.
yep.
But this. So
Well,
here's the thing. Here's
let's,
the fucking thing. TikTok users love to feel involved. A video that I did recently where I openly said I'm doing a science experiment and I need your help. God, it did well. Jesus Christ, it
yep,
did
yep,
unnecessarily well. It did well to the point where I was like, I don't think I can use this data anymore because it feels artificially inflated. Um, yeah,
yeah,
it calls to action and people saying like TikTok is suppressing me, please help, for some reason do
mm-hmm,
incredibly well. And the only thing I can say is like the user base likes to be involved. It is a platform that sort of evolved out of like duets and people finding ways to be involved in their favorite creators' content. So anytime people can be involved, they're really excited about that and they're going to comment and they're going to like and they're going to share. However,
yep,
I want to research the pulling money out of the I want to look at my analytics. If you don't track your analytics, this is just a general message for everybody. If you don't track your analytics, you should, because TikTok doesn't keep those forever. You only get 28 days.
yeah.
I
That's pretty
hate
crazy.
that.
When I noticed that, I didn't like that.
I'm just gonna plug that the Online Creators Association does have a very nice form that will also calculate your cost per view, how much TikTok is paying you per view of your video. Just saying, we have it out there. Um,
Oh, that's cool. Where
we
do you get
made
that from?
it. We're so stupid.
Okay, and where can people download that?
It's just available if you I'll actually put a link in my bio, but if you go to the Online Creators Association, I think we actually got it in our announcements channel, which is available to the general public. You don't have to join. And if it's not there, I'll put it there. Just because
Sure.
it's like it's for everybody and everybody should be able to use it. We've also got we've got a deck on improving your reach and a deck about the algorithm and the history of the algorithm and what it is and how it works. Those are also like publicly available. We want everybody to be able to see those. I'll post things. I'll do my job as a Discord
Sure.
admin for once.
Well, so perfect, thank you. And so where I was going with the so I said, so after I noticed the money's come, I take the money out, they suppress the views. Well, then I found, so I made this video. I said follow me, and like 15% of every, like, let's say a video gets 100 views, I would get 15 follows from it, right? So a good percentage of people watching it then followed it. And so I brought this up to somebody, and he said, well, it would make sense that they want to push people who are getting followers because it continues to bring people
Correct.
back onto the platform. Do you
very much
see
so.
validity in that?
The main thing that
Okay.
I noticed months ago, TikTok doesn't like it when you send people away from the platform. I don't know
Mm,
what kind of suppression they have around it. I don't know if they're just scanning for like the word YouTube. They do not like it one bit when people leave. They love it when you pull people in from outside. And so it doesn't surprise me one bit that TikTok would prioritize. And I think this is true. And I think this is like, I've seen it myself with my own videos in my own analytics. When I gain a lot of followers, suddenly everything I'm doing is doing better. TikTok sort of incentivizes not only people who are gaining followers, but if you are making content after you're gaining a lot of followers, it's encouraging you to do more because you are keeping people on the platform. So you are making more content. You are making TikTok more money.
interesting. I wonder if, okay, perfect. So I wonder if, when it comes to the whole, I want you to experiment with the creator fund thing, right? I want you to experiment with withdrawing money and then seeing if your views go down after that. And one thing I saw where you did a video, you did a series, you did a 2-part series where you tested a non-royalty a video. You tested a video with royalty-free music and a video with music that is not royalty-free, right? And in the case where a video has music that is not royalty-free, they have to pay the record label and the
Typically,
artist, right?
yes.
And so when I put these two things together, and so the video that got seen the most of your series was the one that used the royalty-free music, right?
Funny story. So I did a follow-up of 2 identical videos in opposite order. The video that got the most views was the second video. It didn't matter. It did not matter what music was playing underneath. So as somebody,
okay,
no,
I thought maybe I found the
so what?
correlation there.
I mean, they don't. Let's be real. They don't want to pay out money. But so I worked in commercial music licensing. I actually worked at the Musicians Union. And so I was interested in it as somebody who worked at the Musicians Union, who like was intimately aware of how much money all this stuff actually costs, both from like paying out royalties, paying licensing fees, and then paying union fees on top of a lot of that. So I thought like, oh, TikTok hates spending money. This is probably true. That did not actually turn out to be in any way correlated. Like I haven't found anything that adds up to anything in that realm. What is like definitely happening? User created sounds that contain any kind of music. TikTok regards those as potential copyright violations. TikTok is scared of copyright violations because those actually do cost TikTok quite a bit of money. And so it's actually more like a copyright law issue than it is a licensing issue.
So you're saying that people are safer to just use the music in the platform rather than to just upload their own sound.
The stuff on the platform itself seems to be properly licensed and probably paid for upfront with one flat fee, except for like larger artists.
Gotcha.
I'm sure they're working with the labels. I can't talk. There's certain things that I can't talk about because I've talked about it with my old coworkers and they've been like, this is not public information, but we're going to tell you. So there have been several rounds of negotiation with the labels, with representatives from TikTok about how they, the labels never want to lose money. The labels are so petty. I think this is like, because I was on old YouTube as well, I understand like the copy strike is so dreaded and so awful. But the labels are so petty about getting paid and getting their money. And so it does not surprise me that they've worked out some special agreements. And I'm sure that TikTok probably pays pretty high flat rates. And I'm going to say the labels see this as a partnership because a lot of artists have gotten famous because of TikTok. There have been artists that have started on TikTok that then got signed with labels, and then the sound got re-released under the label. So I'm sure they've I feel like it was Lil Nas X. I'm like hiccuping. I'm sorry. I feel like it was Lil Nas X. Had a sound released pre-label, got signed, re-released under the label, and that more likely than not meant that, like, I think he signed with Universal, went back and said like, hey, if you want to keep your users happy and let them use the sound, you're going to pay us. The labels don't care.
Wow.
I hate record labels. If that were not apparent because I worked at the Musicians Union.
Yeah.
The labels don't care. So I'm positive that they, at some point, negotiated all this stuff out, and they're all being paid. And so the sounds you find on the platform have already been paid for. They're perfectly fine. The stuff you have to worry about are like when you upload sounds that are technically copyrighted content, and the copyright software they have doesn't pick up on that, you could at any time get a soft strike against your account and have that sound. So the sound disappears.
And what would happen?
This is a thing that actually genuinely helps your reach. Go back through all of your videos, find any muted sounds, and delete those videos right away. Because those are copyright violations, and TikTok got fined because of you.
Ooh. Is there a difference between
TikTok
deleting
sees
and just
your
making
private
it private?
videos.
Is one better than the other?
TikTok sees all of your private videos, and you can be banned based on the content of your private videos. And I know this because of my longtime mutual and friend Amanda, who was Laugh Cries. Her account got banned, outright banned, and she appealed it. And the appeal came back with, "Hey, actually, you had some adult content in your private videos, and we reserve our right to ban you based on your public and private content." Yeah.
Oh, God.
So I am of the opinion that deleting is better than privating. You have that problem of like when you delete the video, it deletes the likes. So a lot of people don't like to do
right. So and does that affect? Is there any concern around deleting a video and then that
I have
affecting your
deleted so
future
many
performance?
videos in my time on this platform that I'm at a point where it's like, no, I don't think this is hurting me. I think the thing you have to watch out for when you're deleting videos is not going through and deleting 100 videos at once. I get the sense that if you delete a whole bunch of content, TikTok might think you're either a bot or you're doing something wrong. And they might watch that. But if you go back and delete 10 videos at a time, I don't think TikTok penalizes you for that.
Sure. We could go so deep on. There's so many angles of the algorithm. We're definitely going to need to do a part 2 of this because there's just so much. There's just so many different directions this can go. But how can people? You're closing in on 200,000 followers. How can people get to that number? Because I noticed myself, I was at like 27 like 2 months ago, 27,000 2 months ago. Now I'm like nearing 70, and I had thought to myself, I had seen people with like 50, and I'm like, there had to have been a jump, right, where they did something and they had a jump, right? And then I made that one video about TikTok and the creator fund and follow me and all this, and I gained like 30,000 followers off of that one video, right? So it's like I had that jump. So it's like, all right, good, I got to a higher tier, right? But how do people really get to the level where you are at?
It's 50% luck. Let's be completely real here. It is half luck. I
Okay.
have made videos that are, in my opinion, okay, I'm not trying to say like my opinion is better because I went to school for theater. Um, but in my opinion, I was like, the acting was better, the timing was better, the editing was better, the joke was better, but they didn't hit at the right time. I posted it when there weren't enough people online, or I posted it where there was like a bad suppression day and I didn't quite realize it. And the video just doesn't hit, and there's nothing you can do about that. Sometimes videos pop off for no reason that you can figure out at all. The things you can control are understanding your audience, understanding who you are always talking to. You can't control the For You page audience. You can't control who randomly sees it. But you can make things that are focused on the people that you know are watching. Oh, and another good thing to do occasionally is if you do primarily 1-minute videos, which to be honest, I mostly do, interspersing some shorter videos in there can help your watch time. It can help your completion rate. That's sort of like an overall average. And so, if you've got a couple like 15-second
Sure.
videos in there or shorter, and people watch them to completion like by default, great job. It's actually bumped up your average a little bit. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So completion rate is a whole other metric average watch time I've found definitely makes a difference, but you're saying completion
it seems
rate
to be
is
like if
another
you watch the
factor
video,
that
if you
plays
have
into it.
someone watch the video like, 2 times on a loop because they finished the video and then they kind of watch part of it again, it seems to help your account a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not, again, none of these things are major. It's just like if you add them all up, you can kind of propel yourself on a general upward trend. I mean, let's be real here. I don't think I grow more than 100
Sure.
followers a day. Unless I have something go super, super viral.
Okay.
And that's a rate I'm comfortable with. I don't like it when I go super viral and I get like 20,000 new people because I don't know who the hell those people are. And I don't know if I say things like abolish prisons, they're going to get mad at me. I recently, because I had a video go pretty viral recently for pretty innocuous dog content, I got a lot of people following me who were like thin blue line people. And I was like, I am apparently radically opposed to everything you stand for. You followed me because my dog is cute, and I'm sorry. I do happen to be unionizing people, so that's a pretty good indicator of how far left I am. And I'm sorry. I'm going to post things you're mad about. You can unfollow me if you want. So like I had that happen recently. So I've kind of stalled out because I purposely make videos every now and then meant to scare people away that are not going to engage with my content in a meaningful way, or are not going to engage with my content in a way that keeps me sane. Like I can't deal with 100 hate comments a day. I can't do that. That makes me feel bad. That would make anybody feel bad. And so occasionally just stating who you are, reintroducing yourself is kind of a good idea because it helps control your audience a little bit.
I've seen that work for others, so I totally agree with you. Hey, I really enjoyed having you on. Thank you so much for joining, and thank you everybody for listening. This has been another episode of Golden Thumbs Gaming, and together we will become the #1 podcast in gaming.